What's up, everybody? We're back, and we have an exciting show planned for you today. We're going to be talking NBA playoffs. We're going to be talking mostly play-in tournament stuff in terms of the lines and where we're at with props and lines, but we're going to be talking about Western Conference, Eastern Conference, and championship futures as well. And you might expect you saw our tweets. This is going to be a Zoom call. Let's bring in the stars of the show. It's not a real Zoom call, but if we can harken back to the COVID days, this looks like what our lives were like. We got Mikey B, we got Mike McClure, Zack, Cimini, Mackenzie Brooks, and PropStarz. Mackenzie, I just saw you sent the tweet out with all of our pictures, including Ben was in that picture as well, our esteemed producer. Mackenzie, how you doing today?
Feeling pumped up. I feel like, people don't love the NBA, but I know this is a crowd that does. And personally, like NBA player props, playoff props, that really is my favorite thing to bet on. So I'm personally excited for this season of our sports calendar.
And Mackenzie, for somebody like me who just doesn't bet a lot of NBA, I come into the playoffs knowing what to expect. I think part of the reason we don't like to bet the NBA, especially this time of year, like with the sort of the end of the season, last 20 games or so, we don't know what teams are going to throw out. Now, PropStarz, we do. But I do want to talk to you, Proppy, about, before we get going on bets, about this season in general. Any highlights, lowlights, themes you want to address?
Well, we hear about it a lot, how the game has, evolved a lot, especially recently. Here's a stat that I found very fascinating. This season, every team in the association attempted more three-pointers than the 2015-2016 Golden State Warriors, who had 71 wins and also set the record that year for most three-pointers attempted. So living and dying by the three would be an understatement. So we've seen the game, just move outside quite a bit more. And if you're a big man, you have to be able to shoot now to play in the modern NBA. And it's just been fascinating to watch the game evolve in such a short period of time.
Absolutely. Zack, Cimini, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Excited about another NBA playoffs. And look at the time. It's 9:30. So I think this is the latest early edge stream I've been a part of. So glad to be on.
Fantastic.
Starting 5.
Yes, that's right. Mike McClure, how you doing today?
I am fantastic, Sia. Look, recovering from the Masters, of course, I think a lot of us still are, but fired up for the NBA playoffs. If you don't like the NBA during the regular season, I get it, because I actually fall in that category a lot of the season. Playoff basketball and regular season basketball, extremely different though. It's a totally different game because of the length of the schedule. Fired up to be here. You did mention this wasn't a Zoom call. If this thing gets 200 likes while we're on, I may accidentally drop the Zoom call link and see if anyone joins. So just challenge accepted potentially for anyone out there if you guys click that like button at least 200 times.
That sounds super fun. Mikey B, Mike Budenholzer. So many Mikeys on the show right now. I'm getting caught up. Got fired from the Phoenix Suns. There's always got to be a fall guy for a situation like this. I think all of us kind of agreed, or at least most of us kind of agreed, as the Suns were constructed, this thing was not going to work out. Your thoughts on the latest firing?
Yeah, Matt Ishbia is very quick to pull the trigger here. It looks like to get rid of people, to make trades. The Suns are going to look very different this offseason. They're probably going to trade Kevin Durant too. I saw some reports that maybe Willie Green is someone that the Suns might be targeting because of his relationship with Ishbia and Devin Booker. Those guys didn't look like they wanted to play together all season long. So this isn't exactly a big surprise here.
Not a big surprise. Anybody else have any commentary on the Suns before we get to picks? Go ahead, Zack.
Yeah, it's just one of Frank Vogel, Monty Williams, now Budenholzer. You just can't find the right fit. It ties to the organization, really, ever since the Suns were forced out. Robert Sarver brought in Ishbia. There's been issues galore. It's not going to stop. So we'll see what happens. I think James Jones, too, this is the last year of his deal, so he's probably out as well. So there's going to be changes abound.
Yeah, Mutanda's in the chat, says, I don't get the firing of Coach Budenholzer. Personally, the roster is a mess. I mean, this is what happens. The roster's a mess. You're not gonna point to the star. You can't fire Kevin Durant. You can't fire Bradley Beal. So you go to the coach or the GM, and that's how it works in this day and age. All right, let's get to some bets. We got some really interesting play-in games. We got some really interesting just Eastern Conference and Western Conference matchups outside of the play-in games themselves. We're going to get to all of that. And I know, Mikey B, we're going to get to your Bulls in a little bit, but let's start in chronological order. Let's start with the Hawks and the Magic. The Magic laying 5.5, depending on where you look. It's about a 218.5 point total. PropStarz, I'm going to start with you. Now down to 217.5. You got a play in this game?
I do. I've got one I like quite a bit. Of course, going to the proc market here. And a guy who really doesn't get touched on very much or talked about in most circles, at least mainstream NBA fans, not really familiar with Onyeka Okongwu, who has taken over as the starting center for the Atlanta Hawks. Really had a solid season. I like him to go over 25.5 points and rebounds. He started to really flourish and get comfortable down the stretch. No Clint Capella in the lineup. So he's been playing upwards of 40 minutes. So when you're getting that type of playing time, you can rack up quite a few counting stats. And the last time these two teams hooked up, which was just about a week ago, he dropped 30 points, 14 rebounds, and 5 assists while playing 40 minutes. And I expect a similar workload and a usage rate heading into game 1 here against the Magic, where on paper it's not a good matchup. But from a prop standpoint, I believe that matchups are a bit overrated when we look at, what is a good matchup versus what is a bad matchup. So a guy that's going to play 40 minutes, even against the Magic front court, which has been good defensively, I think this is a couple PR too low. So, yeah, back in Okongwu over 25.5 points and rebounds.
Mackenzie, go ahead.
I also like his blocks and steals line, which is something my team has been dabbling in a lot. I know it's not the sexiest prop ever, and it's also a little expensive right now, but to go over 1.5 is really just something he averages, and he had 3 blocks and steals in their recent game against Orlando, and I think it was all just steals, but this is a guy, like Proppy said, starting role, 30-plus consistent minutes since mid-January. So, this is a line that he's been soaring over, and that's why it is expensive, the over 1.5 blocks and steals, but at least a good leg to a parlay too, if you like it.
All right. Maybe a good leg to a parlay, or just straight up Mackenzie is taking Atlanta plus 5.5. That's your play.
Yeah, we make it a 1-point game here in the SportsLine model,
Wow.
106, 107. So just a 1-point loss. You guys have heard me talk about play-in Trey here. I don't call him playoff Trey, but my guy will show up in the play-in here. And when you look at, for both of these games Tuesday, they both played recently. And I typically think that favors the team that lost. And I do think Atlanta could find themselves in a good spot here, because the reason Orlando won that game is they were shooting kind of above their head, above their average from 3 points. So if they just shoot an average game, they're not winning that game again. So as great as it was that they were able to do that, just to win a game based off something that is above your typical ceiling, that kind of makes me want to take the other team there.
All right. Well, we don't always agree on this show. We have so many people. It's inevitable that we may disagree. So you might want to take Mackenzie's play, or you might want to take Zack Cimini's play. Zack, explain why you're on the other side.
Well, we'll say this. I got to give credit to Mackenzie because we're on HQ a lot for these NBA blocks, and this is going to probably be my 5th straight time going opposite of her, but I think she got me the other 4 times. So she might be right on this, but I'm going with the Orlando Magic minus the 5. I look at the fact you've got to look at these teams, why they're in the play-in. And Orlando, to me, if they were healthy, they would have been probably the 6th seed where the Detroit Pistons are. So they're healthy now. When you have Ben Carroll on the floor, he's one of the biggest difference makers in the postseason, I think, especially for his age. And then you look at the fact that this is going to be their 3rd matchup in a week's time. I think that favors the team that's better defensively, which is the Orlando Magic, on their home floor. In Atlanta, they've made a lot of good changes for their youth movement, but this is their 4th straight year in the play-in. So I think their youth showed promises this year. I'm glad they broke up the team, but it's not going to get done this time around. It'll probably be next year they advance. So give me the Magic minus the 5.5.
Well, I'll tell you what, people are asking about showdowns. Now, you two don't have to put money on the line, but I, as the host, not contributing with picks, I got to contribute with this. Ben, play the music. It's gonna be a showdown. Mackenzie Brooks already talking trash. She says, I've seen this movie before, and I like the way it ends. Zack, what is going on here? Clip this. Post it after decision in this game.
She's been right on these calls against me for whatever reason. So she's got a streak going against me. I have to admit that.
All right.
The funniest part is, sometimes it's the craziest niche, player prop in a end of the season NBA regular season. It's like, what are the odds that we not only are on the same role player, but even on the opposite sides?
Fair enough. All right, let's get to some more bets. Mike, McClure, you like a predictably an under.
Yeah, it's playoff unders. When you get here, I kind of mentioned it in the little intro. It's just playoff basketball is different than regular season basketball. And to Zach's point on Orlando, being a complete team and a better team, they're definitely better than where they're seated. And the thing that they do well is they defend. They're one of the top 3 teams in the NBA in terms of defensive rating, and they do that coupled with a very slow pace of play. So we've got a massive contrast in styles here in terms of the tempo of this game. I think Orlando is going to be able to dictate that pace. They have been a massive profitable under team on their home floor this year, to the tune of 64%. You are literally profitable if you blindly bet Magic unders at home, which is pretty incredible considering the length of the season in the NBA to not lose that out to juice. That's something you should really consider. It's not like an NFL team essentially being profitable on a total at home or away. When you've got that many games to not lose to the juice and to be that profitable, it is significant. And that's what I think we see here. It's just the style of play, the stakes of the game. You look up and down at every single one of these totals in a playoff setting, they're almost always moving a full bucket, 3 points from open to close, and it's always going in one direction. I'm on the under here.
Oh, so is Big Cheesy. He says, I'm going to hammer the under in this game. We go from a game under, this will close out this game, and then we'll move to Grizzlies-Warriors, to a player prop over. Mikey B.
Yeah, Mike was talking about how great the Magic's defense is, and it is. The Hawks' defense stinks. They have Dyson Daniels, and nobody else plays defense, and they play at a crazy fast pace. So I'm going to go Paolo Banchero over 29.5 points. He scored at least 30 points in 9 of his final 14 games during the regular season. He had at least 30 points in all 3 games against the Hawks. And what you like, he plays a lot in the playoffs. Last year, he played at least 38 minutes in 5 of the 7 playoff games for the Magic, and he had at least 30 points in 3 of those games. So lots of minutes against a team that plays no defense. I think Paolo Banchero has a great scoring performance.
Mikey B, you mentioned Dyson Daniels, and so did Jeff Stenberg. In a different context, Dyson Daniels over 10.5 rebounds and assists at -120. He says, I love the Great Barrier Thief in this spot. Mackenzie, it sounded like you liked this play as well.
Yeah, well, I'm a big Dyson Daniels girl. We've been on him since early in the season, and when you were able to get his blocks and steals at a reasonable price, that was always awesome too. But, it is a very bad defense overall, but when you have one of the best perimeter defenders, maybe one of the best defenders of the season so far, you could hope that it gets you somewhere here. And as someone on the Hawks plus 5.5, I will have to be a big Dyson Daniels believer.
All right, we move to the Grizzlies and the Warriors. By the way, if there's anything you all need to comment on before we move to the games, you hand up and I'll try to receive it, and then I'll look at the chat as well as we go through this show. Grizzlies Warriors, we've got. Oh, okay, so this is the Hawks Orlando. We've got the Grizzlies Warriors here. Warriors laying 7 at home. I believe they're in this spot because Draymond missed a gimme layup, or at least that would have forced an overtime period. But either way, let's talk about Draymond Green. Mikey B, you're going to kick us off. You like a Draymond Green over?
Yeah, I'll go Draymond Green over 12.5 rebounds and assists. Now, the last time he played the Grizzlies, earlier in April, he had 10 rebounds and 12 assists on his way to getting a triple-double. He faced them 3 times this season. He had at least 15 combined rebounds and assists in 2 of those games. What you like about the Grizzlies, they've played at the fastest pace in the league during the regular season. And Green averaged 6.7 rebounds and 6.1 assists over the 35 games this season in which he played at least 30 minutes. I think he plays somewhere between 35 and 40 minutes in this important game, and he'll go over that 12.5 rebounds and assists.
All right, over 12.5 rebounds and assists. Let's go to Mike McClure. I'm going to go to you next because you like a game under here, and I think you got it at 231.5. Yes. As we saw on the graphic here at BetMGM, it's down to 229. So give me your thoughts on the under, but also how far low you would play it.
Yeah, still leaning under at this. Obviously, we've seen a lot of movement since this opened. Now, I made the number down to 227, and it is highly speculative because these teams can absolutely combine for 260 at really any time they get together. But I just think we still get the slower pace of play. I think we still get a more half-court controlled game because I do think Memphis can keep it close enough here. If we lose too much of the total here, I would actually be towards the Grizzlies side at 7. I made the number 5. But just the fact that it's 7, I don't think that we're getting 3+ possessions edge or margin on the Warriors side in this game. But for me, it's just simple philosophy. These games open far too high because they're still influenced by regular season play. And playoff basketball continues to be defensive intensity. First of all, no one's coming in on the second night of a back-to-back. And then it's just, if they're competitive at all, it leads itself to half-court offense in the second half.
All right. We go from a game under to a Ja Morant under. PropStarz.
Indeed, Sia. Yeah, I'm going to go under 2.5 made 3-pointers for Ja Morant, who, to his credit, has been playing good basketball since the Grizzlies elected to fire Taylor Jenkins. But 3 made 3-pointers is just a big number for Ja Morant, who gets the majority of his points, scoring downhill. Also, this matchup against Golden State, M Squared talked about it. Golden State plays at a slow pace. The two main components with the Warriors are shooting the three and defending the three. They're exceptional at defending the perimeter. And yeah, they've given up the fewest 3-pointers to opposing guards in the NBA this season. That is certainly by design as well. So difficult matchup that I think we're basically fading the hot hand in Ja Morant. I also like his under on his points, have a slight lean in this particular prop, as my projections have him at 1.8 made threes. So yeah, I think this number should be 1.5. I'm willing to pay the extra juice here to fade Ja Morant under 3 made threes.
All right. Zack, Cimini, this line, listen, I like the Warriors as much as the next guy or girl, but this line did seem a touch high to me. Talk to me about why you like Memphis and the points.
Yeah, this game is just a lean for me right now with Memphis +7. Got to break this down a little bit further just to be sure, but lean right now for the Grizzlies on the 7. And just like you touched on, I just think it's too many points here. Golden State, all their success over the last 28 games, 21-7, but they weren't able to close. You look at the last 2 Sundays at home, lost against the Houston Rockets, yesterday against the Clippers, lost at home as well. So they put themselves in this position. There's automatically going to be that connection with bettors. Anytime you see Golden State in the playoffs from the 4 titles with Steph Curry, now you have Jimmy Butler, so that connection boosts them even further with his success with the Miami Heat, getting them to the final 2 years ago. So I look at this Memphis Grizzlies team. They're a team that I want to back in the play-in, probably not in the first round. I think they have a lot of issues, but this team plays well on the road. And 2 years ago, they were the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. So for me, it's just too high for me on the spread here, plus the 7 points.
All right. Mackenzie, it was just last week where you were fading. It was late last week, I think, fading Zach Edey, and it came in just like so smoothly. It wasn't even not a sweat at all. But this time, you're actually not fading him. You're taking his points over.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I hope that shows that, like it's these game specific situations that you have to look at these players. And for Edey, that just really wasn't the case for him in that game on Friday, I believe it was. But now he's in a situation where, look, a lot of like these big guys will, be sent to the bench when this becomes a 3-point shootout type of situation. I think Edey has shown a respectable 35% 3-point shooting. So it's not necessarily like I think he's going to lose dramatic minutes here. And we're in line with odds makers as far as rebounds, assists, all other stats. So it seems like we are in line with how much he's going to play, but we just have slight value on his points. Specifically, we have him closer to 10 points here. And I think this could be a number that goes up, but this is a guy we're just asking to do what he typically does on the road here. He's hit this over 7.5 in 22 of 35 road games. The thing about the NBA is when there's so many games, we're able to literally split teams into this is them as a road team, this is them as a home team, because there's enough sample size. And he's a guy that really hasn't hit that rookie ball in that way. He plays well on the road, and this just feels like asking the average. And it seems like what odds makers are saying is he should be on the court long enough.
Fair enough. All right, we're going to transition to the Wednesday play-in games. And of course, we start Wednesday with the Heat and the Bulls. Mikey B, this is a Bulls team that you hated most of the season, but then they got rid of Zach LaVine. And then you're like, all right, this team's going to be a little bit better, probably a little bit better than you even expected them to be. They're a slight favorite, -1.5, -115 money line here at BetMGM to win this game against Spoelstra and his Heat. What's your bet in this one?
This might surprise you, but I'll take the Bulls. Bulls money line here. They are a much, much better team without Zach LaVine. They are finally fun to watch again. They went 3-0 against the Heat during the regular season. The problem for the Heat is they can't keep up with the Bulls. The Bulls play at such a fast pace. They play at the 2nd fastest pace in the league during the regular season, and the Heat played at the 4th slowest pace. Now, another thing here, this game is in Chicago. The Bulls went 8-2 over their final 10 home games of the regular season. This team is light years better without Zach LaVine. It's not even close. So I like the Bulls here to go perfect 4-0 against the slow pace, plodding Miami Heat.
Very, very interesting. I got to tell you, I got a feeling. I got a feeling that the best coach in the NBA, yeah, I'm saying it again, Eric Spoelstra, is going to find a way to pull this off. And Mackenzie Brooks, you agree?
I do. This is very similar, reasoning to the Orlando game where you can kind of isolate exactly what it was and the reason this team, beat the Bulls, beat Miami the first time. And like you, Spoelstra in this spot with recency bias, it makes me want to back the underdog in that spot. But I just think what we saw from Josh Giddey, basically what happened with the Bulls was they had a solid 2-point field goal differential and they had solid advantage in the rebounding margin. And that was because Giddey put up 16 rebounds on himself and also just had an absurd 2-point percentage night. So I just have to imagine between Spoelstra, trying to stop him specifically and him not putting up 16 rebounds, that this becomes a lot closer of a game. And he also is not going to be 100% healthy from what I can decipher with his forearm situation going on. So I'm willing to bet on them stopping Giddey, which should certainly keep them in this game.
PropStarz, you're nodding your head. I don't know if that's your official pick, but either way, it does feel like we've got to play the music. It's gonna be a showdown. The funny part is, as the host, I don't even warn Ben that that I'm going to do that. He's just got to scramble with, in a second or two. All right, let's get to some more picks on this game. Zach and Mike, you guys have the same pick here, which I love the synergy. Zach, I'm going to let you talk about the under 222.5.
Well, I just saw the graphic Ben put up. I don't know if that 218.5, that would mean the under has been hammered from the opening, because I got it at the opening at 222.5. So I like the way the market is moving, actually going against the trend of the regular season where all three matchups went over this set number. You just expect playoff intensity basketball. The loser of this matchup is out, completely out. You don't get a chance to play in the next play-in game. And I also look at the fact that both teams rested their key starters on Sunday. So you're looking at, this is the Wednesday play-in game, so you get that extra day as well. A lot of times people think rest is beneficial, but I actually think it's to the contrary, because you're used to playing against regular season defense. There's going to be increased intensity. These players are going to be rusty, in my opinion, early on. So maybe we get that one slow quarter, maybe even potentially that low first half from a total standpoint, and we see that effect of these starters being off 4 to 5 days. So I'm going to go under the total here of 218.5.
Mike, I do see there's some 219s out there as well. You like the under. How far low would you go here?
I've got it all the way down to 217 is the projection on it. It's starting to get low, but I still think that this game has the potential to essentially be around 210. When you look at the stakes that are at play here. As Zach mentioned, it's not only playoff basketball with increased defensive intensity, it's well rested, which again helps the defense more than the offense. And the stakes of the game, it is truly do or die at this point. It's win or go home. It is like a March Madness game, essentially. So I would be on the under if anything here. I would look to potentially catch it live as well. The thing that could happen is you could get a hot start from three from the Bulls early in this first quarter and look for a live under at that point. But if the game's competitive, it's going to come to a halt in terms of pace in the second half of this game.
All right. We go from a game under to a points under. PropStarz, talk to me about Josh Giddey.
Yeah, I'm going to fade Josh Giddey here. And if you've been following me this season, that's something I've done quite a bit, and I have to eat some crow as Giddey's really played well down the stretch. But I think the other shoe is going to drop here soon for Josh Giddey, particularly from behind the arc. Coming into the season, he was a career 33% shooter from three. On this monster tear he's been on post All-Star break, he's shooting upwards of 40%. I do not think that's sustainable, and I also think it's a difficult matchup for a variety of reasons. Also, if we look at Miami's defense, they are vulnerable to the three. They pack the paint really well. They guard the interior well. They will give the three up. But again, we saw Giddey start to falter, at least from his three-point shooting was concerned. Over the past 10 games, he came back down to earth a bit. Still piled up plenty of counting stats, but I just think it's going to be tough for him to score in this environment that's likely to be paced down. So, yeah, I'm going to go under 17.5 points for Josh Giddey.
All right, before we move on to Mavs-Kings, because this spread is so tight, I mean, you can get the money line -115, -105 either way. I want to go, we know what Mackenzie, Mikey B, and I like in this game from a side standpoint. Let's get the other three here. I am curious. PropStarz, you were kind of nodding your head, but I wasn't 100% sure you were nodding your head with like, oh, I like Miami. So can you clarify, do you like it? We don't need analysis, but like, do you like Miami to win this game?
I was nodding my head because I thought Mackenzie made a great point for fading Josh Giddey as well. But yeah, as far as this game is concerned, the Bulls have been impressive. Really, I agree with Mikey B. I just think that the Bulls team, they're playing really hard every night. Their expectations are pretty much, that they're going to get bounced. So they're playing with house money. No one expected them to really be in this position, considering how bad they were over the first half of the season. They're at home as well. I've just been impressed with Chicago. They've got some good young talent. They have the draft pick, Budenholzer, who's been incredible under the radar, really just been on a tear down the stretch. So, yeah, I'll take the Bulls here.
Zack Cimini, who wins, Bulls or Heat?
That's why I went to the total. Honestly, I think it's a true toss-up because you like the way the Bulls are playing down the stretch of the season, but they are young. So if that veteran team of the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero can get out early, maybe they can hold them off. So I don't really have a take per se. That might be something I'd evaluate in game, honestly.
Yeah, it's so tough. As Zach mentioned, more interest in the total. If I had to, play it, a free bet, whatever, it would be the home team with Chicago at the current price point. I think the upside that Chicago has with the youth and being on their home floor, they would warrant maybe being as high as a 2.5 point favorite, maybe a 3 point favorite. But Miami, I think they're getting a ton of credit for just simply the body of work in that organization, having that coaching staff. That's there, and it's difficult to quantify both of those things. But if we're talking upside talent on the floor, I do think that Chicago is the more talented team. It's whether or not they can pull it together at home.
All right, go ahead, Poppy.
I would also add that the coaching advantage really that comes into play over the course of a 7-game series, over a single game. Even though I do agree with you, Eric Spoelstra is one of the league's best coaches. I think it's a bit nullified pretty much in a single elimination spot.
That's a completely fair point. Big Cheesy says Mavs-Kings over 216.5. Professional transition from the chat because that's where we're moving next. I don't know where this total is because I know it opened at a much higher number. Okay, so it's 218.5 right now. At least at BetMGM it is, and we've got a 4.5 point spread. I think this has come down from 5.5. PropStarz, I'm going to start with you. What's your favorite bet in this game?
Yeah, I love a play in this game. It's probably my favorite prop on the board right now, and it's Domantas Sabonis under 20.5 points. This line just feels like a gross overreaction, in my opinion. Sabonis averaging under 19 points per game on the season. I'm frankly shocked it's not 18.5. He's a guy that's been playing big minutes, so it's not like Sabonis, his usage and his minutes are suddenly going to drastically increase now that they're in the postseason. And I would also add that the strength of this Mavericks team is their front court defense and their front court depth. Derek Lively Jr., Daniel Gafford, Anthony Davis, these are all really good defenders in the interior. So I think it's a very difficult matchup. I don't put a lot of stock into how he's played against Dallas, but he's, interestingly enough, really struggled in all of the regular season meetings against the Mavericks this year as well. So, yeah, this is my favorite prop. I think this line will ultimately close at 19 or even 18.5.
Yeah, to be clear, it's 20.5. I think some people like Big Cheesy heard 28.5. It is definitely 20.5 is the line, one that PropStarz absolutely loves. Mikey B. So this is interesting because this line was 5.5, I believe. I think it opened at 5.5, down to 4.5 in some places. So money coming in on the Mavericks. It's such a beleaguered team. It's hard to believe that money's coming in on the Mavericks, but it is. What are your thoughts on this spread?
Yeah, I agree. I would still take it at Mavericks plus 4.5. You're telling me I have to trust the Chicago Bulls West? I have to trust Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan to win a game by at least 5 points where the other team is facing elimination? I just don't trust Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan is one of the best clutch shooters in the league, but I don't trust the duo together. They showed that it doesn't work in Chicago. The Mavericks are the healthiest that they're going to be in a while. And oh yeah, Malik Monk is out for the Kings. He isn't even set for a reevaluation for like another week. So he's averaging over 17 points, almost 6 assists a game. That's a really big loss for them. So I'll take the Mavericks and the points.
All right. We are fading points with the game, right, Mike McClure?
Fading points with the game. Can't recommend it at this point, though. This one has just been absolutely hammered from 222.5 to 216.
Wow.
And a half here. So I would not, I'm not ready to jump on the over yet at this point, but everything that everyone said here, I think Dallas is still legit defensively. And I think that they're going to be able to limit some of the scoring here. And so I like the under, but yeah, I'm not playing it at this point. It's moved far too much. Again, I would just continue to encourage, at least in game ones, basically blind bet unders in game ones to start the NBA playoffs. You can pretty much guarantee profitability. Like, you're not going to win them all, obviously, but you can definitely find an edge just simply playing every under game one if you're able to catch the true openers.
That's the thing, Mike. So like, for people to like learn and bookmark this for next year, for example, or maybe next round, I'm not sure how you'd articulate it, but you want to catch those game unders immediately when the number comes out. Because if you wait 2 hours, 6 hours a day, it's just going to get hammered down.
Generally, yeah. And I would say, actually, this is a whole can of worms we can open up and talk about there, but I would say it's the one time where I actually think you can chase the steam in a sense. And what I mean by that is when you watch that line move by half a point within, an hour of open, I would feel very comfortable tailing that market movement early, because these ones, again, I've watched the trend for years. It's typically around 3 points a full possession that they're going to move.
Very interesting stuff. All right, Mackenzie Brooks, we like a game under, but we also like a team total over.
Yeah, this is super awkward going against everything we've basically just said so far. This probably is like the only total I am on the over as far as, teams or overall game totals, but I do like the Kings over 110.5 for their team total. And I bet you can wait on that and probably get it at 109.5, as we've seen that this complete overall total is going down. But obviously this is a better defensive team when they have AD, and we have a small sample size of it, and they do play better defense that way, especially when you have all three bigs. But even that, they're still allowing 110, right? So it's basically they're still allowing at their peak the same amount that this line is going to be here. And I like that the season average for the Kings was 116. So even when they were playing on the road, it was 113 in the 12 games without AD. So, or excuse me, on the other side there with Sabonis. But I don't think we're going to see a lot of overs. I don't think it's necessarily a big team total overs fest, but I do think this specific one, we have them projected for 119 because that's what they've been doing. And maybe with Monk news as well, that could still go down. So I would say wait on it too.
All right, Zach, before we get to your pick, I do want to point out Aubrey Travis in the chat. He says, best bet Giants money line. Kind of the wrong show, but thank you for addressing that, because I do want to remind you, since your name is new, we did the early edge, and the San Francisco Giants were mentioned in that show and discussed with some of our big-time baseball people. So, Aubrey, if you're new to this channel, make sure you're subscribed to SportsLine and go back and watch the early edge. We do it every single Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. And, of course, we have these special shows, among others, with the golf shows, NFL shows. We're going to have an NFL draft show soon. I think later this week we're having an MLB live betting show. So you're going to want to make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Also, if you could, hit the like button. Zack Cimini, we got a big family member in the chat. It's Big Cheesy, and he loves the Sacramento Kings. All he wants to hear from you is that Sacramento is going to win the game. Can you do that?
That's all I'm saying on this one. I think it's very tough to assess this from a spread standpoint. So this is one you can take Sacramento on the money line. Maybe Mike Barner cashes as well from the spread standpoint, but use it as maybe a potential pick for back end with your parlay for that day or whatnot. But I do believe Sacramento wins this game. I think their fan base is very underrated for a game like this. That could be the difference maker, because these aren't your typical 2025 fans that are just going to sit in their seats. They've got an edge to them. And I look at Dallas Mavericks, they have a starting five that is still learning on the fly. And then you look at what they've done over their last 5 road games against Western Conference teams, 0-5 with an average margin of defeat of 27 points. So this could get ugly if that fan base gets going. Those vets for Sacramento start knocking down shots, light the beam, as they say, down in up in Sacramento.
PropStarz.
This is a sorry game if we're talking about the fans playing a big role as far as handicapping who's going to win here.
Oh man, I don't think Big Cheesy appreciated that. He did appreciate Zack though. He says, "I knew Zack was always my favorite." Joe says Kings definitely winning this game. When you put a definitely in there, now I definitely think they're going to lose. Mavs are going to win this game. All right, let's go to Eastern Conference and Western Conference props, and then we're going to talk about our favorite futures with respect to maybe some of these teams winning the finals and things of that nature. So that's how we're going to close the show. This is fun. So we just addressed all the playing games. I think we gave you about 20 bets to consider and to potentially make. Let's talk about favorite early first round bets for the Eastern Conference games. PropStarz, I'm going to start with you. You got a new cat. Her name is Venom. And now you've got a cat prop. This is synergy times a million.
Indeed, Sia. Yeah, we're going to fade the big cat. We're going to go under 25.5 points for Karl Anthony Towns. I like this for a variety of reasons. It's a big number for Karl Anthony Towns, even though he's already an extremely high usage player. But Jalen Brunson back in the lineup is also a very high usage, high volume scorer. Also, if we look at the Knicks, they're a team that plays their starters 38 to 40 minutes a night. So it's not like Cat is, again, going to have a big increase in playing time here. Detroit in this game, we've got a pretty low projected total as well. It's going to be a pace-down environment. Plus, I've watched Cat in the playoffs historically, and he just looks out of sorts and out of rhythm. And until I see him look as dominant as he does in the regular season, in the postseason, I think he's just a really solid fade, especially at this high of a number.
When the Knicks, who thought they were a championship team, traded for Cat, I was like, okay, that's a big whoops. Like there's the dog in Cat, if you will. It's just not there. Guys
Isaiah Stewart's going to get in his head.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there. But Mikey B, if Cat is going to have an under, perhaps one of his teammates is going to have an over from way downtown.
Yeah, I like Jalen Brunson to make at least 3 3-pointers at even money, plus 100 there. The Pistons have allowed the 6th highest three-point shooting percentage in the league. Brunson's averaging just over 6 3-point attempts per game. He's shooting over 38% from behind the arc. He made at least 3 3-pointers in 3 of the 4 games against the Pistons this season. And like Proppy said, Tibbs loves to play his starters a lot of minutes. So you could see Brunson play 40 minutes in this game. So I like him to hit at least 3 3-pointers.
All right, Mike McClure, this line is 7. It does feel like the game we talked about with Zack, where it was a 7-point spread, just felt a little high to me. Your thoughts, Pistons plus 7.
Yeah, 7's a touch high, and I actually think you might catch some 7.5s. You're currently 7.5 minus 115 at BetMGM right now. So I do think you're going to catch 7.5s at least for a brief period of time. I personally think the number should be closer to 4.5 than 7.5, and I could, get behind it if it was 5.5. But it's 7. Just considering the style of play here, when you look at the New York Knicks, they're going to want to play the slower half-court offensive game. I think the Pistons, when you talk about Cade Cunningham, he's good enough to just simply go make a game competitive and close, give the team a chance to win here. So I ultimately just think we're talking about a 2-possession game, not a 3-possession game. And this is a team, Detroit, that frankly has been a little undervalued all season. And it's for good reason. They've been bad for a very long time. Some of it by design, some of it by, just not simply being good. But their time is here, and they're coming forward. They've been good against the spread in this particular matchup, 3-1 ATS in this matchup itself. To me, I just think the way the Knicks play, that leads to a more competitive game. That's just how they win basketball games. So at 7, it would be a Pistons definitely at the 7.5 as well. I'd be surprised if we didn't see this tick back a little bit, maybe even hit 6.5 by the time tip off.
All right, we go from a 7, 7.5 to another 7.5. Mackenzie, it almost feels like these Eastern Conference bets are just relegated to this Knicks Pistons series, but they're not. Talk to me about Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis is passing like Magic Johnson right now. If anyone's been paying attention, he's putting up some absurd stat numbers or assist numbers, and that's because who else is going to? Like, he's literally the only one. He has the ball in his hand for most of the game. Everybody else is just catch and shoot around him. So this is a number he's cruised over in this past few games, putting up like 15, 10, 10, closer to 20 in some of those as well. So this is just asking him to do what he's been doing down the stretch. Even if he does regress a little bit, I still think he'll be able to hit this 8 number. And this is also a pretty reasonable price right now at most books, around like -115. So I think you could also look for him to get a triple double if it's a pretty solid value. But he has Bobby Portis, who's a very big part of this. Him being able to catch and shoot is certainly a big part of him racking this up. But he's averaging like 18 assist opportunities a game, and the math of being able to convert on like 65% of those, like this line should be set at 12.5, honestly, in my opinion. So I feel like this is just an overlooked line right now that we're getting early.
By the way, Magic Johnson over my left shoulder, Magic Johnson over my right shoulder. So big fan of the comp. Magic was just so incredibly fun to watch. If you're too young to have remembered, or even if you do remember, go back and watch some highlights on YouTube or something. Big Cheesy says Clippers +3.5. That's interesting. We're going to get to Western Conference plays in a second, but we still got to finish out Eastern Conference because we got one more, and it's courtesy of Zack Cimini. Zack, we're going to Trae Young.
Yeah, I stayed in the playing game for my best bets this early on. We only Young over 10.5 assists. He's been automatic in this category. I don't think he's got enough credit for it. Led the NBA in assists this year, averaging 11.6 assists. 4th straight year he's averaged double-digit assists, and the way he racks them up so quickly is what catches me. Kind of reminds me of Rajon Rondo, those 5 straight years with the Boston Celtics when Rondo had a very similar stat line from the assist category as Trae Young does right now. So he's went double-digit assists in 11 out of his last 12 games. As I touched on, this is the 3rd matchup in the last week against the Orlando Magic. And I personally like the Magic, but I don't think that's going to stop Trae Young from having an all-around game, where assists being the market that I want to attack for him, over 10.5 assists.
My Mount Rushmore for NBA legends, or current players that have you just watching them pass the ball is just something that is just so much more artful than anything else I want to watch. It would start with Magic Johnson, and Rajon Rondo, who you mentioned, would be number 2. I don't even know who the other 2 are on my Mount Rushmore. I haven't given myself a second to think about it. Maybe the chat can help us out, but I miss watching Rajon Rondo quite a bit.
Jason Kidd, can't leave him out.
Jason Kidd's a good one.
Yeah, playoff Rondo was also incredible.
Jason Williams too was really fun to watch pass the ball. All right, let's go. Let's pass it over to the Western Conference games, and let's start this time. Mackenzie, I'm going to start with you because Big Cheesy, he likes the Clippers +3.5. It is 3.5 at some places, 3 in others. I like the Clippers +3, +3.5. You do as well.
Yeah, I've talked about this Clippers team before, and the 3 shakiest pillars in all of the NBA is, Kawhi's health, Ben Simmons' mental stability, and you're looking at what you're going to get from a playoff Harden here. So do I think it would last a full series? No, but in a situation like this, in the first game, if it is going to happen for this Clippers team, I do think it will be early. It has to be early when you still have all 3 of those pillars working for you here. And again, I think Zubac's been phenomenal for this team as well. I would definitely look into his props as well. He's playing like 40 minutes and not fouling anybody. Like, he's not getting into foul trouble. So he's been great for this team. Again, while you have these things working for you, I think this is the time you get on the Clippers. An early road win feels like, the false hope we might get from them before things go downhill.
All right, fair enough. Clippers +3 is the play. Now, I do want to concede not a lot of these plays are out yet. Obviously, spreads are out, but there are a lot of plays that you all have that we just have to wait for the line to come out. We can kind of anticipate what they are going to be. Mike McClure, I actually go to you next for that because you like the Lakers first quarter. That line, I'm checking right now. As far as I can see, you're right. It's not out yet. But what do you expect it to be, and why do you like it?
Yeah, I expect it to be 1.5. I like it because I like the Lakers rotation to start basketball games. They've been good in opening quarters. It's LeBron James, right? He's absolutely incredible doing what he's doing. I want him when he's fresh. And I like the rotations. Luka's going to play the entire 12 minutes, most likely. LeBron's going to sit for a couple minutes, but he's going to close the quarter, as is Austin Reeves, per some of those rotations. So I like the fact that they're getting that starting 5, letting LeBron and Reeves have that timeout, letting Luka carry that offensively, but then closing a quarter hard like that. That is something that's fascinating to me. I think that they're going to be good in this matchup against Minnesota to start games, particularly at home here. If you look at Minnesota, they've actually struggled in first quarter scoring, particularly on the road, while the Lakers have been basically a top 5 team. And again, why are they a top 5 team? They've got 2 of the best players in the NBA averaging 10 plus minutes in a first quarter. That's where I like to back the Lakers here. So I would play it all the way to 2.5 still. Trying to see, I don't think we are going to get that line just yet. Yeah, we do not have it we don't have it anywhere. A comp though, to give you a comp for the game to just way NBA lines work. The Dallas Mavericks Sacramento game, that's basically flirting at 4.5 and 5. That first quarter line is across the board 1.5. So I think we're going to see a very similar line here on a 1.5 for the Lakers.
Okay, a couple other lines we're not sure of, but Mikey B, we are sure, I think, of Anthony Edwards' line against these Lakers. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I like Anthony Edwards to score at least 29 points at minus 125. He had 43 points against the Jazz, who weren't exactly trying. But Edwards to score at least 37 points in 3 of his last 5 games, so we like to see that. And I think this game being played in Los Angeles might actually be a good thing for him to have a good scoring performance. He averaged 26.1 points and shot 42.1% from the field at home this season. On the road, he averaged 29 points and shot 47.2%. Anthony Edwards likes to be the villain. So in this game, I think he goes off and goes at least 29 points.
PropStarz, I want to go to Kawhi Leonard. This line may not be out yet, but it's another points over that we like with him most likely.
It is. Yeah. I am patiently or impatiently awaiting Kawhi Leonard's props to materialize and populate because, Kawhi quietly played just fantastic basketball once he got back into the lineup, looks fully healthy, is still an elite 2-way player, one of the 5 best players in the NBA, and this is going to be a high-scoring environment against Denver. I think Kawhi here, especially when we look at his minutes increase in the playoff, I expect his usage to increase as well. I think we'll get a discount early in this series on his props. I'll be looking to back likely his PRA line, his points potentially. I envision his points being around 25.5. The PRA line around 34 to 36.5. These are both good looks in my opinion, and I expect Kawhi to have a big series.
Did you say at the beginning of that take, quietly putting up points? Did you do that on purpose?
No, I didn't, but I wish I did.
That was amazing.
Take the credit, Proppy.
That was amazing. Your subconscious did it on purpose. I'm going to give you credit. Zack Cimini, he mentioned PRA for one Kawhi Leonard. You like PRA for this play-in game, and it's not for, and I'm talking the Golden State Warriors Memphis game, and it's not like Steph or Jimmy Butler. It's Brendan Podziemski. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, Brandon Podziemski, I love his PRA combination over 27.5. You look at the players on both sides, and Podziemski stands out because his number is rising. I love the way he's been playing down the stretch of the season. Really, it's correlated with the Warriors shifting their lineup to a small ball lineup, move Draymond Green into that 5 spot, no longer are using Quentin Post or Trace Jackson Davis, and that's rose the abilities of Podziemski in the month of April. 17 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists is what he's been averaging. That's a 6-point average rise increase from his regular season average. Then you assess the opponent in the Memphis Grizzlies that love to play with pace. We just saw the Timberwolves last week have a 52-point quarter against this Memphis Grizzlies team. So Podziemski's going to have the opportunities in the rebounding, in the assists, even points. When he has the hot hand, we've been seeing Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler defer the basketball to him. We just saw that last week against the Lakers. I love his combination where he can reach this, has a high ceiling in all categories, go over 27.5 PRA for Podziemski.
All right. Love the plays here. We're not done yet. We got to do our favorite future for the NBA playoffs. Of course, you're going to be hearing all kinds of NBA stuff, futures and the like. We've got 2 months of the playoffs, and we've got the early edge every single day. We'll probably have some more special shows. So this isn't the end of the road as it relates to futures. We're just kind of giving you a teaser right now. I will point out that Big Cheesy says this show is too good. Aaron Bailey says, I agree, Cheesy. I do want to ask a favor. If you haven't done it already, please review this podcast. You can go to Apple, you can go to Spotify, hit 5 stars. It literally takes maybe 1 second. maybe less. And then you could maybe add 5 or 6 seconds on writing a sentence or two about why you like the early edge or just the SportsLine YouTube page in general. But the reviews on Spotify or Apple really do help. And some of you are in here all the time. If you could just spend maybe 10 seconds reviewing the show, that would be amazing. Let's get to our favorite future. Zach, I'm going to have you kick this off. We're going to the Lake Show, taking down Ant-Man and his boys.
Yeah, the series price on this yesterday, I saw -172, and this morning I've already seen some books are up to -200 on the Lakers side. You can find some plus value. I think the Lakers can win this in 6 games, but to me, you look at Minnesota, 17-4 over their last 21 games. They were successful last year in the underdog role in the first 2 series against the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets. And last year, they weren't a popular underdog play. This year, they will be. And to me, that just does not happen 2 years in a row, a team having success in that underdog role in the postseason. This Lakers team with Luka Doncic is familiar on how to attack this Timberwolves team. We saw it last year with the Dallas Mavericks, completely took Rudy Gobert out of that series. And to me, this Lakers team is destined. They're going to make quick work. They'll just maybe Anthony Edwards has a couple of good games, but they'll adjust on him defensively as the series goes on. Give me the Lakers to win the series over the Timberwolves.
Mike McClure, a lot of people in the chat really like the Lakers to go far in the playoffs. You like them to go pretty much as far as possible, at least as it pertains to the Western Conference. What's your future?
Yeah, it's Lakers to win the West. The number has been cut in half essentially since the trade. Still like it. Liked it the day the trade happened. Like it now. It's just, you have 2 of the best players in the NBA, 2 of the highest basketball IQ players in the NBA. I love what JJ Redick has done in terms of coaching. And frankly, I love the matchups that they get. I know it's difficult to shut down Anthony Edwards. He alone has the talent to go make a series interesting, as does Nikola Jokic. But when I look at the matchup, the fact that they fade Oklahoma City until the finals, that is appealing to me. So I think that LeBron, what he's doing at this age is just absolutely incredible. And he knows that the opportunities are simply limited, right? It's time is ticking. It's incredible what he's able to do, but I think they're highly motivated. And I think that this team is certainly making it to the Western Conference Finals. And once they do, I think they can take them down.
Jeff Stenberg is trying to make the hashtag trend anybody but the Lakers. Well, let's stay in the West then, because if it's anybody but the Lakers, PropStarz, it could be the Nuggets, who are suddenly at pretty long odds to win the finals. What's your future?
I'm a sucker for a long shot, as you know, Sia. So I think there's value on the Denver Nuggets to win the championship at plus 25-1 odds here. They've got the best player in the world. Nikola Jokic is coming off of arguably the best offensive season in NBA history, and he's at the peak of his powers. And we also have Jamal Murray back in the lineup, who's a very experienced playoff performer. Aaron Gordon has proven to be a very versatile two-end player who, again, this team has won a championship. I know, obviously, there's turmoil and disarray, which is why we're getting such long odds here. But Nikola Jokic is a coach himself, basically. And, Christian Brown as well. And the weaknesses for Denver has been their lack of depth and the young guys that they failed to develop. But as we know in the playoffs, rotations tighten greatly. And we're going to see basically their starters play 40-plus minutes. So if Denver is healthy and you've got the best player in the world, I don't think these odds should be this long. I think there's value there. I think they can beat any team in the West in a 7-game series because of Nikola Jokic and company. So, yeah, I think there's good value on the Nuggets to win the championship and the Western Conference.
Russ Westbrook!
What did he say? I missed that.
Russ Westbrook.
Oh, fair enough. All right, we see the NBA Finals odds right here, courtesy of BetMGM. Mackenzie, let's finally move over to the Eastern Conference. You like a certain Boston team to win it all, or win the East, is it?
Yeah, just to win the East. I'm glad we got some good long shot plus money here, but this is a bit of a safer play, which I'm not typically always a person to give that out, but I do think Boston is obviously just the best chance to win the East here. And I know -140 isn't a great price for a future, but we would set this closer to -200, not exactly -200, but closer on the way there. And that's because this is a team that just is better on the road. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, like we have enough of a sample size where there's a road version of yourself and a home version. This Boston team on the road should be able to dilute the home court advantage that I think we'll get from the Cavs. And I know there's a even smarter way to play this exact series coming as well, but I just think they beat the Cavs here. We've seen them. I mean, this might be the first time we really see them at full strength all season. And now you just have these backups with all this confidence and all this playing time too, to have a deep bench going into, a long road to the finals potentially. So, I mean, although it is a bit boring, I just have a hard time believing this team doesn't take over.
I don't think it's a bit boring. And I think minus 140 is reasonable. I mean, listen, we're at the stage where this number is now minus 140. It happens every year. You probably could have gotten a better number much earlier in the season, perhaps even at the All-Star break, but it is what it is. And I think they are the best team. And Mikey B, you think they're the best team in the Eastern Conference as well. And the reason I think I know that is because you don't think the Cavaliers are going to beat them in the conference finals. Talk to me about what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree with Mackenzie that the Celtics are going to be the team that comes out of the Eastern Conference. So I'm going to play it a little differently. You might have to shop around to find this option, but I like the Cavaliers' exact round elimination in the conference finals at plus 135. They're going to cruise through the first play, either the Pacers or the Bucks. Neither of them is a legitimate threat to the Cavaliers. So we're looking at probably Cavaliers, Celtics in the Eastern Conference finals, which I think the Celtics will win, especially if Kristaps Porzingis is still healthy at that point. So instead of doing the minus 140 there, I'll take a little bit of a chance and to take the Cavaliers to be eliminated in the Eastern Conference Finals at plus 135.
It's such an interesting way to look at that bet, because if you're right that it's the Cavs and the Celtics in the conference finals, by making this bet, you're effectively getting the Celtics plus 135 to win the series against the Cavs.
Yeah.
You just have to have the other dominoes fall into place beforehand. I think that is a really, really clever bet. Okay, so before we close the show, and I don't know if anybody has any final thoughts or they need to respond to somebody in the chat, feel free to hand up and do that. But I want to talk about, Mike said he was recovering from the Masters when we started the show, and the storyline was unbelievably intriguing with Rory McIlroy winning it because he hadn't won at Augusta before, but also with Bryson being in the mix and so many other primetime players. So here's how I want to close the show. I want to go around the horn, and I want you all to tell me the storyline that you forget about the bet that you like the most, the storyline that you want the most as it relates to the two teams that are going to play in the finals. And you can articulate it however you want to articulate it. But in terms of like what you want as a fan, the two teams that you want in the finals, Mikey B, I'm going to start with you. This is not a betting perspective. It's a fan perspective. Who do you want in the finals and why?
I'd like to see the Celtics in the finals because I want to see someone try and repeat for a championship. And I would like to see them play the Nuggets. While I don't think it's going to happen, I do, nice try on the long shot bet there, probably. I don't mind it at those odds. But I would love to see that Celtics defense against Jokic in the NBA finals.
Very interesting. Also kind of boring in my opinion. Mike McClure, how about you?
Yeah, well, you did preface this by saying as a fan, and I am just stunned I didn't hear about the Chicago Bulls playing in the NBA Finals.
Well, I have to be somewhat realistic, Mike. You guys aren't going to have me back on if I say I can't wait to see Billy Donovan and Josh Giddey lead them over the Celtics in 7 in the Garden. Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
All right. For me, it's Lakers Celtics. I want to see LeBron and Luka in the NBA Finals. And I want to see Jason Tatum play in that spot. Would it be fun to see the Cavs? Maybe LeBron beating the Cavs. Yes, I could get behind that narrative as well. But for me personally, I want to see LeBron and Luka play in the NBA Finals.
All right, John pointing out the Celtics Lakers is plus 1,300. Zach, that's probably the matchup that I want to see. I mean, I think it would be somewhat compelling for the Knicks to be in the finals because they're the Knicks, but Celtics Lakers I got Bird and Magic behind me right here. That's the one that's most compelling to me. Zach, how about you?
For me, I want to see OKC versus the Cleveland Cavaliers just for the organizations that did it the right way, built with youth, got the right coaches, and they got their players to buy in. It's incredible what the Cavaliers have been able to do. It looked like they were going to dissolve that team last year with the issues that they had. So two very strong teams. And I also want to see who's that potential shocker team. Each of the last 2 years, we've had a lower seed get to the finals. Last year, the Mavericks, the 5th seed. 2 years ago, the Miami Heat, the 8th seed. So who is that team this year?
That is such a good answer. Wow. I wish I had said that. PropStarz, what's your answer here?
Zack literally nailed my take as well. It's Cleveland and Oklahoma City. Love what both of these franchises were able to do. Kenny Atkinson doesn't get nearly as much credit as he deserves as a coach. Very likely going to win Coach of the Year. I love Cleveland's roster. Evan Mobley has firmly become one of the best two-way players in the NBA. So yeah, they've been a selfless team all year. They get production from all over the place. They're balanced. They have a good bench. They defend. So love Cleveland. And then Oklahoma City, what more can you say? Had the best net rating in NBA history. One of the best defensive teams I've ever seen. They're so versatile defensively. They can throw so many guys at you. They really believe. I absolutely love their depth that they use it as a strength. And again, so many quality players led by SGA, who had just a remarkable season. That guy is elite on both ends of the court, not just offensively. He's top 5 in NBA rating defensively as well. Jalen Williams, to me, is sort of like becoming this version of Scottie Pippen in the modern NBA as well. I think he's one of the most criminally underrated players in the league, and he's just absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I love both of these teams. As a huge basketball fan, I'd love to see Oklahoma City and Cleveland.
Fernando Morales says Clippers Knicks. That would feel like an 80s, early 90s, like old school battle with the way those two teams plays and with the way some of their superstars play. Mackenzie, you got to close this out here. Can you top any of that?
Yeah, I'm realizing maybe it's a Sixers fan in me, but it's really, there's like no team from the East that I'm as pumped up about as just seeing what the Western Conference Finals will be. Like, to see OKC versus the Lakers would be awesome. I'd love to see OKC make it to the finals. I just think they're so young and fun, and their fan base is awesome. Those home games, the energy they bring and they've brought this season, and maybe that's just playing into the storyline of this whole year of the Western Conference being so much better, but that Western Conference Finals is going to feel like the finals to me, because that game will be awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun. And OKC Boston, because of those fan bases and the home environment, will be really, really cool to see. And maybe that's what we get. Certainly the two most likely teams to make it to the finals in their respective conferences. What a conference we have here at the Early Edge. This SportsLine YouTube channel, I mean, we just pop up with this show. And so I know a lot of people will internalize this and listen to this via podcast, which is just great. For those of you that were live in the chat, there were a lot of you. I really appreciate you being in here. What a great show. Mikey B, Mackenzie Brooks, PropStarz, Zack, Cimini, Mike McClure. Got a lot of special shows, a lot of kind of creative shows. I mentioned the live betting show, MLB. That'll be, I think, Ben might have to correct me on this, and I'll talk to you about it tomorrow on the Early Edge. But I believe it's going to be this Wednesday, and it's going to be during a bunch of baseball games. Like, we're going to have like a really big live MLB slate, and we're just going to be taking you through some live bets with some of the people you see on the screen here. There we go. Ben, live MLB betting show is this Wednesday at 1 p.m. So this YouTube channel, it's not just the Early Wedge shows 5 days a week and the Early Edge 5 days a week and the NFL shows during NFL season. We have so many shows, including an NFL draft show that I think we might be doing next week with our favorite props with respect to that. A lot going on. But we got 2 months of NBA playoffs to talk about as well. We kind of started you off right here with an appetizer. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is the Early Edge. We'll see you next time.